Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. So today we're going to be talking about the Lover's Path in the Valentine's Day spirit. I guess at the time of this recording that was yesterday, so hopefully you guys enjoyed your Valentine's Day. I enjoyed my Singles Awareness Day, so you know what that means. So let's dive into the Lover's Path and look at what's going on here. There are lots of things to discuss with this particular one. There's a lot of couples, or couple souls going on. We have Siphi and Rhodos, we have Cupidus and Venus, and then we have Yumiko, and we have Cardiel as well. So decent amount of perfect souls, 2-star, 3-star, as well as the big kahuna there, the 5-star perfect soul for the fusion champion White Queen and Korra. It's also worth mentioning that, as I predicted, this event is a combination of champion training and dungeon divers because it's replacing both of those events in the fusion in this instance. And obviously, speaking of the fusion, we do have a total of 15 fragments up for grabs, and we'll talk about how to get there in a bit. But there's a 10 node all the way down here, and then there's a 5 node all the way up here. As far as other rewards are concerned, we already mentioned the souls. There's a couple of good things here in the center, and there's a lot of center path going on here, and soul coins, ancient shards, some oils, but the real juicy stuff is near the bottom. Primal shard, some dust and some powder, immortal, 6-star mythical chaos ore, 6-star legendary chaos ore, legendary tome, and of course the perfect soul. So like I said, there are a lot of ways that you can approach this, and we'll talk about a few that I've picked out, but I think you can kind of pick and choose how really you want to approach this depending on what your goal is, and we'll talk about what exactly my goal is near the end here. So the first path I want to talk about is coming down to the 5 fragment node. This is if you only need the 5 fragments, meaning you probably participated fully in the summon rush like myself, and you're going to participate in the champion chase starting tomorrow. Then you should only need 5 fragments, and again, you participated in everything else. You're only going to need 5 fragments, so that can be enticing to people who don't want to invest too much. This is champion training, so it is the most accessible form of a path of or hero's path event. So all you have to do is level up some champions, and you also get the benefit when you're running campaign that all the shields you get are going to count as dungeon divers points. And of course, there's also dungeon tournaments for the fusion, dragon, I think, and going into ice golem is going to overlap with this as well. So you're going to be running the dungeons anyways for dungeon divers points, and you're going to be running champion training or running campaign for champion training. So it's really better than it seems as far as getting it done, getting the fusion fragment summon done. But anyways, if your goal is just to get down to the 5 fragments, you can basically take a straight line coming down on the right side of the middle, straight shot all the way down, and that will cost you only 11,000 points, which is fairly cheap if that's all you need to do. But of course, there are some more juicy rewards along the way that you might want to pick up depending on what you're going for. If you're going to get all 15 fragments, you still basically have to do the same thing. You still need to come down to the 5, and you can kind of hop between the sides here if you really care one side or the other. But you will have to make your way eventually down to here with the 6,000 node points, or 6,000 point node, and that will cost you a total of 34,000. The cheapest way, if you take the cheapest path, which would be the left side here in this case. If you take that path, including the 6,000, it's going to be 34,000 points. So that's all you would need, 34,000 points over the course of 4 days with champion training, which is pretty reasonable compared to a normal champion training event, which this is the functional equivalent of. So that's not too bad. I wouldn't feel too bad about that. But 34,000 points is all you would need to effectively finish the fusion in terms of the points. If you want to go a step further, 10,000 more than that, you can get yourself a legendary tome, so 44,000 points. And then if you wanted to go for the soul, but you're not really focusing on the fusion per se, and you wanted to take the cheapest path, you actually have to end up coming down the right-hand side because this is 12,000 versus 16,000. So when you do all of that combined with everything else, you got to kind of find the cheapest path coming down the center, add up to 50,000 here, or add in the 50,000 here, then it would cost you around 90,000 points if you wanted to get the 5-star perfect soul for White Queen and Korra, which honestly is very, very powerful, particularly after the blessing rework / buff rework, whatever you want to call it. So that can be quite powerful, but it's also quite expensive. Again, it is the most accessible form of a hero's path, but decide for yourself if that's really worth it to go all the way down there. For me, that is not the case. The other thing I want to point out is that along the center, there are a ton of key nodes. This is double key here, double key here, double key there, single key, single key. So depending on how far down you want to go and which perfect souls you're really keen to get, I'm not going to identify the paths for those because it really depends where you want to go with that. And generally speaking, just by coming down the middle in some way, shape, or form, you unlock all of the, you have access to all of the key nodes. So literally you just pick whichever one you want and you add 3,000 or 5,000 if you're coming down here. So that's all you have to do, add 3,000, 5,000 to whatever you're doing. And while we're here, I might as well talk about what I plan to do because you can kind of see be a little bit of it going on and kind of alternating back and forth on these paths. I hinted at it earlier that I would only need 5 fragments because I maxed out the Summon Rush by pulling 6 Sacreds instead of 4, which is fairly cheap in my opinion. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to go a little bit easier on the Hero's Path when it came out. And then I do plan to max out the Champion Chase. It is confirmed to be 2 times Ancients, which is really good. So that's, again, the most accessible form of a Champion Chase, where most people in the game have a lot, or a reasonable amount of Ancient Shards that are enough to get a Champion Chase fragments for a champion. So it's usually the easiest form, or it's always the easiest form between the 2 X's. So I don't have a problem with getting those, maxing those out. I don't need the extra 10 fragments, so I don't have to come all the way down here, and I don't plan to, because I honestly didn't want to go that hard on this Hero's Path. The Legendary Tome is usually what I do for champion training events, but I do a lot of champion training just because of all of the tournaments and champion training events that happen on regularly. So in this case, I kind of wanted to take it a bit easier. So, and I have some extra resources for other stuff in the future, in the near term. So I only plan to come down to the 5,000 node here, and I do want to pick up 1 key along the way, probably get this powder here, because it's 5 powder saves me from running Sand Devil, which I don't really run. And then obviously I'll get the greater oils here. But for me, the souls, I have a 5-star for Rotos that I've paid for with coins and whatnot in Essence over the months, so I don't need a redundant soul for him. But I'm probably just going to pick up the 2-star Siphi soul. I don't have her, but if I ever do get her, that's a head start on her blessings and whatnot. And obviously, you know, they'd be a very strong couple if I could ever get her. So no guarantees that will ever happen. Void legendaries do not really exist. At least that's what I like to tell myself. But so that's what I plan to do. Just basically get the 5 fragments here, grab this powder here, and then just get the 2-star Siphi soul. And all of that's only going to cost like 25,000 points. So it's really, really cheap. Or no, 22,000 points. 22,000 points over the course of 4 days is super cheap. So I'm keeping this one a little bit lax even for me. And then I'm going to focus on other dungeon tournaments and stuff like that, and just kind of cruise through the rest of the fusion. And of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos without diving into the lovely spreadsheet, which will be linked in the description box down below if you'd like to check it out for yourself. But yeah, so here we do have basically both of these. We have a big combination of dungeon divers and champion training, so multiple sources in terms of getting coins. We have populated all the nodes here as far as what you can expect to get on average from the different areas of the game. So just by running campaign, you expect to get around 10 coins per run, and then you can kind of see whichever dungeon stage you're on. This is how many coins you expect to get on average per run, including all of the odds here. And so these are all the paths that I identified. You can check the numbers and kind of just see understand what the numbers mean in terms of all the nodes that you'd have to go through. Some of them zigzag a little back and forth. Again, we're trying to optimize for the cheapest path in order to get whatever the top reward here is. And then you can see that my path detailed there. So 22,000 points in order to do what I plan to do. The other thing to mention, of course, is the champion training aspect. We have 2 rows here. One is per capita. And for those who don't know, that just means this is the amount of points or coins you would get for leveling up or making this tier of chicken. And then cumulative just means it's accounting for the fact that when you make a higher level chicken, you have to feed in lower level chickens that you have already made, and so you get the cumulative effect of points. And then the 6-star champion assumes that you do make a 6-star champion and you level it up to at least level 52 roughly, which is where I usually stop if I'm taking a champion up to 60 via Minotaur by getting their masteries. So for example, if I was starting from scratch, you could essentially say that I would just have to make 1 6-star champion, including all of the 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star chickens all the way up, and then just 22,000 points for doing all of that and taking it up to level 52 in the campaign, and I'd essentially be done with my unique path. And just for perspective, typically in a champion training event that's like a 4-day or a 5-day, I would usually end up making, if I have the champions to level, I'd probably end up making 2 to 3 6-star champions and taking them to level 52. So I can definitely crank them out if I have champions to build. And so that would be, 60 something thousand points when you add it all up. So yeah, that's it for the Lover's Path. All in all, I think it's pretty cheap and fair for what you can possibly get. I like that all of the souls are basically branches from the center path that you're going to have to do anyways to get any of the keys, because the first keys, like I pointed out, start down here. So regardless of what you plan to do, you're going to have access to any and all of the souls that you want just by trying to get the keys for the soul. So it's a good synergy. And if you really want to go ham for the more of the souls, then you just have to go further down. But by that point, you're already probably chasing some of the rewards down here anyways. So it kind of just makes sense. So I kind of like the layout of this one where it's pretty centralized and then some branches that just make it a very, very cohesive path. But that's my take. Let me know what your thoughts are on this path in the comment section down below. Do you love it or hate it? Let me know. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It really, really does help out the channel and lets more people see my videos. And if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.